Hey, beautiful souls, welcome to the groundbreaking episode of a Woman's Work Talk Show. I don't know about you ladies. I know my team and I are excited. We are so excited. You know, we've been waiting for a long time to expand our platform. So now, as of today, we are officially on YouTube Live, coming from a Women's Work Talk Show. I'm just so excited. Even though I'm the only one on my screen, I have my team in the background. Coach Sonia, she's going to pop on and she's going to be part of our talk show because she has a lot to contribute to the conversation as well. But before we begin, I want to make sure that we keep with our same introduction of our platforms just by having a tribute to the women who are still experiencing trauma today. We want to hold up a candle for you in your honor. And the ones that we're talking about are women who are currently in domestic violence situations, and you're trying to find a way or a time to leave. I want to hold that candle up because I know when I was in this situation, I didn't leave right away. And I just want to make sure that we keep you in mind and keep, just kind of be mindful of how unsafe that situation is. And just kind of say that, and believe that you are going to be safe. You are going to be safe in those situations until you are ready to leave. I also want to hold this candle up for those women who are currently actively using alcohol and drugs. We know, as women who are also in recovery, my team and I, we know how difficult that is to leave that situation. But we know it's possible. But while you're in it, we know the struggles. We understand that you do get to a point where you want to stop, even though you're not able to. So we holding up this candle for you. We want to hold up this candle for those who are involved in sexual assault situations, whether it was in your childhood and now. We want to hold this candle up for you. We want to hold this candle up because we clearly know that women who experience those traumas and others, that carries throughout your lifetime. And we know as she's taking the life back, that can interfere with you trying to get to the next chapter of your life. We know that trauma mindset can interfere with you getting into that relationship you so desperately want to get into. And somehow you're not able to achieve those goals, or you're not able to figure out, how do I get into those healthy relationships? So we want to hold this candle up for you, ladies. In honor of that, I just want to take a moment just of silence before we move on, in honor of those ladies or those situations. Yes, yes. And again, I am absolutely thrilled to introduce you to this brand new Women's Work Talk Show. This talk show is emerging out of the hearts of my tribe, the hearts of my team, the hearts of my coaches of She's Taking Her Life Back. This talk show embodies the unwavering commitment of She's Taking Her Life Back, our commitment to empower women who experience trauma. Those of you that are new to us, I will take a moment and share about She's Taking Her Life Back and my team. And so you'll understand that we're just not talking the talk, that we are walking the walk, right? But I also want to tell you, we're excited because this is a new level. This is a new chapter, and She's Taking Her Life Back. Our organization has been a sanctuary of support and transformation over the years. So we're not new to this. And this show is just an extension of that vision. So yeah, I'm excited, Here as She's Taking Her Life Back, we're not just a community. We are not just a community. What we are is a movement that believes in your worth, resilience, and your capacity for transformation. This talk show is a platform for us to come together, share our stories, and our journey towards healing and empowerment. We understand that she's taken life back. There are many women out there like us who are now out of those situations. And then we just sit back and say, what is our life going to be like now? Now that I'm out of those situations, I want to create something in my life that I wasn't able to create before. And here, as she's taking her life back, that's what we're all about, helping you get to that next step, helping you understand if you're stuck and you're sabotaging opportunity, like what's really going on that's stopping you. Because we all know that we have a desire to create a new chapter in our lives. So we want to help you towards your step and understand the complexities of the trauma mindset. We want you to understand how it shaped our way of thinking. And at the same time, we want to share the triumphs that are awaiting you. So during our weekly talk show, we'll unravel the stories that resonate with your own stories. We want to shed the light on topics that matter to you. Can you see how excited I am, ladies? We're going to talk about topics like trauma, self-worth, resilience, and growth. And you and we and all of us will be joined by my own team of coaches. And I cannot wait to introduce you to them if you're meeting us all for the first time, because we're all on a mission. We are on a mission. So I also want to share with you, in the weeks ahead, we have an amazing lineup of episodes, including at the end, a special guest who share their wisdom and experiences, because they're going to help you take the steps to begin to heal that trauma so it can help you get to what's next in your life. And I often share what's next in my life. My team will share what's next in their life, and we'll share how we're overcoming obstacles through the discussions that we're going to have on here. And our intent is to leave you feeling inspired and uplifted, because your journey matters to us. Remember that this show is not just ours. It is yours also. So each episode, we will make sure there is space for you to engage, to learn, and to connect. We want to help connect you to our stories. We want to connect to your stories. We want to give you some insight. And I'm definitely going to be asking you questions beginning today. There'll be questions that Sonia will talk to you about. Coach Sonia, who's one of the team members at She's Taking Life Back, she's going to come on in a little while, and she's going to share with you how you can engage with each and every episode through answering those questions, or even making comments. Or anything you want to talk about related to the topic we're talking about each week here on She's Taking Her Life Back's Women's Work Talk Show. So if you're ready and you really want to reclaim your worth and you want to step into your strength and you want to take your life back, stay tuned each week, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So now before we start our topic for tonight, I want to introduce you to myself, a little bit more about me and our team. For those who have never met me, because again, we are new here on YouTube Live. This is our first show. Generally, our platform is on Facebook, but we're expanding. So I want to share who I am. I am Natalie Manning, and I am the founder and CEO of She's Taking a Life Back, as well as your trauma mindset coach. Again, for those who are new to our tribe, I want to share you more about how I became the CEO and founder of She's Taking Life Back. Why all this happened. I want to say this, my journey of becoming the CEO and founder of She's Taking Her Life Back started from my own trauma. Starting back when I was in the middle of an active drug and alcohol addiction, I was in the middle of a domestic violence situation. I was in the middle of all those things. But even before all of those traumas happened, I'm going to discuss on today's show, so stay tuned, how my very first trauma laid the path to those other traumas that I mentioned. And then I'm going to share a little bit of my story of healing, because I want to hear yours too. I want to hear from you ladies, right? So, I am a woman in recovery, substance use recovery. I have been recovering for over 34 years. Not only that, I've been out of domestic violence relationships for years at this point. Through those situations, it got me to the point that I said, you know what? I want to become a professional in helping. Because when I got out of those situations, immediately a lot of women like me, we want to start helping people. We want to help. We want to help other women get out of those situations. We want to give advice. We want to do all of those things. But I wanted to make sure that I learned how to do them on a professional level. So that began my journey of becoming a board certified counselor for the last 32 years. I have been a professional counselor. And through those years of counseling, I began to specialize in addiction treatment. I began to specialize in anger management. And probably about 15 years ago, I began to really study trauma. Those who work in the field, like counselors, therapists, you all know that about 15 or probably more years ago, they began to really focus on trauma and trying to understand like what's going on that people are leading to using drugs and alcohol. What's going on that people are repeatedly in domestic violence situations and don't know how to break out of them. They say they want to leave one and they leave some of us not to only get into another domestic violence relationship. We began to really go hard as counselors and therapists to really get to understand trauma. So those things began to excite me, and I did that for a lot of years. And then it got to a point like, I want to say years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I'm kind of guessing. I said to myself, you know what? I'm ready to become a coach. I wanted to become a coach and I wanted to become a speaker. I wanted to speak to women all over the world. So I started my journey of becoming a speaker. And I'm going to share my journey on another talk show and another video about me being a speaker. I'm going to share with you. But right now, I just want to share with where my journey came from and how I got to She's Taking Her Life Back. So after I decided to, leave the counseling area, I'm still counseling, but I decided to kind of lessen my professional focus on counseling and put my focus on becoming a trauma mindset coach. Because being in counseling, being in therapy, being in those areas that we help people, we understand not everybody's going to seek those different avenues to get help. We understand that there's going to be a lot of people that experience trauma who are not going to go to therapy. We know that. So when the world of coaching began to open up, I said, you know what? I want to become a coach because what I want to do is help people go forward. When we talk about therapy, there's a big difference between therapy and coaching. I just want you to know that. But when we talk about coaching, it's about getting people unstuck. It's about getting people to step by step to how do I get to that place. And for people that I and my team speak to are women who want to get to a place of, you know what, I'm tired of these unhealthy relationships. I want to figure out how do I get into this healthy relationship. Are there any good men out there? And they are. I'm here to dispel that conversation that some women who experience trauma have, like, you know what, all men are dogs. That's not true. That is simply not true. We have to really take ownership and say, okay, at all those relationships, who is the common denominator? Right? And I'm not letting those relationships off the hook who perpetrate those traumas, but I am saying that if you're somebody that experienced trauma, there's work that we have to do to make sure we don't wind up in another relationship like that. Oh, that's going to be a part of our conversations here on the Women's Worth Talk Show. So I'm just so excited about that. I wanted to stop and I wanted to share that. So when I decided to become a coach and a speaker, that's when I developed She's Taking Her Life Back, because that says everything. That says it all. It's about women taking their life back. And me taking my life back started this journey because I want to share with people, with women, the real life steps on how I did it and how you can do it using my professional and my personal experiences, right? And then I decided, you know what, I need a team, and I couldn't do it all myself. So later on, after a couple of years, I decided that I wanted to add some coaches to my team. I wanted to add. It takes a lot of work to be able to put this together, and I couldn't do it alone. It was too much work to do. So I decided that I was going to bring on a team of coaches. So I want to now introduce you to one of our coaches. I have two other than myself. Again, not only am I the CEO, she's taking a life back, I'm also a trauma mindset coach along with being a professional counselor. But then I said, you know what? Even though I talk about the mindset, because that is so important. And before I move on and bring one of my coaches up, I do want to say this, and I do want to continue to repeat this. Just leaving those situations is not enough. It can fool you into say, okay, I'm out of that domestic violence situation. I'm no longer using drugs and alcohol. You have to change the way you think. It is your thinking and your mindset, along with other stuff, that leads you in those situations. So that is what I wanted to do. I didn't want just to be a coach to just only help people heal from those traumas. I wanted you to help the way you think. I wanted to help you transform your thinking, because it's your thinking that's keeping you stuck. So again, just getting out of those situations, it's not enough. Many women are fooled by that. They say, I'm out. Are you really? Are you really out? You may be out physically, but is your mindset, if you don't transform that, will take you into another unhealthy relationships. It will, honestly, because I know as a professional counselor, and I know as a woman who have been in multiple domestic violence relationships, most women who've been in those situations, they are not just in one. There are some who get into one domestic violence relationship and they're out. I'm talking about women who've been in repeated cycles of domestic violence relationships. I'm talking about women who repeatedly, use drugs and alcohol, got off, got back on, got off, got back on, and not understand why all that happened. It has to do with mindset. And that's why I became a mindset coach that specializes in trauma, right? So now I'm excited now to bring on one of my coaches, and this is trauma addiction recovery coach, Sonia. And I'm going to let her share about who she is and what she does on my team. So I'm going to bring Sonia up. I'm excited to introduce you to Sonia. All right, here she comes. Hey, Sonia. Oh, did I kick Sonia out? I'm sorry, that was my mistake. Hey, Sonia.
Natalie, while I introduce myself, I would like for you to check on our YouTube. I was monitoring for the comments, but I think you need to enable it because I cannot even place a comment, and I don't think our audience can. Monitoring only gives me certain options, but the comments don't even show up. So if you can check on that while I introduce myself with ladies.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Sonia.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm trauma addiction recovery coach Sonia. I specialize on helping women who have experienced addiction as a trauma response with my own personal experience of overcoming various traumas. And I have navigated the path of recovery. I am passionate on empowering women to move forward in their lives and create a healthy and fulfilling future. Now, ladies, as I always remind you all, I do not treat addiction directly, but instead, I do provide techniques and tools to help my clients develop resilience and self care practices. Um, Also, to have a support system focusing on empowering my clients to live a fulfilling life beyond addiction. I understand that addiction is an often response to trauma, and that recovery can be a difficult, ongoing process. So, I work with my clients to identify the root causes of this addiction and trauma, and I help develop strategies and tools to managing our triggers and building positive coping mechanisms. Thank you, Natalie. Natalie, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. I was over at YouTube.
Okay.
All right, I'm not sure if you ended because I put the volume down to make sure. I can hear you, Sonia.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Awesome.
You good?
Okay. Um, okay, ladies. I want to I want to say this about this. Bear with us, stick with us, because this is our first time on YouTube Live, so we're still learning how to navigate all this. All right, I think I'm good now. I think, and I started chuckling a little bit because I opened up the chat, so I think you can see it now. Sonia, let me know if you can see it.
Let me see. I'll check it right now.
While she's doing that, I'm just gonna pour me some water. And I was chuckling because when Sonia looked at the comment, my grandson made some comments on it. I only read one or two. So, hey, Khalil, I saw you in the comments. It is all good. One day I'm gonna bring you on the show so people can see your face, Khalil. So we want to hear what you have to say. All right. So let me see. There's comments over here. Oh, okay. So I'm reading the comment. Can you see it?
I think you're the only one that can see the comments for some reason, Natalie, because they will not pop up on my side, on my end.
Serious?
I
Okay.
am serious. And Ronald tried assisting me because you know Ronald is all that with the computers. He tried assisting me. He said it's on Natalie's side. It's not on you.
Okay, so before I show you that, I just got to read the comment because one of the things about me, I can get really serious about my work, but then I also have a sense of humor as well. So I'm just looking at the comment of my grandson on the side. So if you see Coley Dead Gamer, that's my grandson. So this is what he said. Oh my God, this is my favorite YouTube channel. And then he goes, preach. And he says, she's taking a life back. Good for her. She's preaching to them words. Yes, sir. How can I apply for this job? Oh my God, this is too good. And it's so funny. Khalil is now, oh, I think I lost Sonia. Did I lose Sonia? No, I don't see your face, but I'm gonna continue to go. But Khalil is now 15, right? So I don't know if Khalil remembers this, but Khalil was on a show where she's taking life back like years ago when I came on Facebook Live to do a New Year's celebration. Khalil did it with me. This was years ago. And now this is years later. Khalil is, he's tuning in and making comments because he knows I'm his grandmother and he knows what I do and he knows about she's taking her life back. So I appreciate you. Thanks for commenting, Khalil. How can I apply for? That's me. I'm famous. Yes, that's my grandson. All right, we're gonna continue with the show. Give me a second. Bring Sonia back on. Okay.
Hey, Natalie.
Are you now able to see the comments?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you see the comments?
I can't see the comments.
Okay, you know what? Don't worry about that. I'll man the comments because I can see them and we'll figure out everything else next, right?
Okay.
I want to continue with the introduction, then we're going to get into today's topic. So stay tuned because I have a lot to share about what may be going on with you that you may be sabotaging opportunities for success if you're a woman who experienced trauma. All right. So Sonia, is there anything else you wanted to say about who you are?
No, I finished my introduction. I'm just ready whenever you want me to talk to the ladies about how they can comment on our live. Let me know.
Awesome. So I do want to make mention, and again, I want to say this. I made sure that I spoke with Sonia and the team that I wanted this talk show to be real casual because, I could be really serious and no nonsense about topics. And you'll see that on this talk show. But at the same time, I wanted to be a relaxed environment. I wanted people to be comfortable enough to get on here and share what they need to share, just like my grandson Khalil did. I want this to be a laid back, comfortable show. All right. So just so you know that. I know that as a professional counselor, it's so important to create an environment that where people feel comfortable enough to open up. So just know that. But again, I want to mention another team member, coach, spiritual life coach, Julia, who isn't with us today. She'll be back next week. She is our spiritual life coach. Again, I understood that we needed more than just a mindset coach on our team. We needed to expand our team with coaches based on what we know worked for us when we start journeying this path of transformation. And spirituality was definitely one of them. There's a belief, and that's the thing that disrupts our getting to our next step, our belief system. So we needed a coach to help you with your belief system. We want to get you to the point where you believe that whatever's next in your life, whatever you want that next to be, that is possible. But if you don't believe that, it's going to be difficult for you to get there. All right, so that's what we have spiritual life coach Julia coming board, and she's going to share with you throughout this talk show experiences and throughout our coaching experiences. If you become one of our clients, you will get a better sense of spirituality and how it's needed in your experience of going forward and creating the new chapter in your life. And again, Sonia shared some things. I was over on YouTube. I'm not sure what she says, but actually, I know what she said because I know I know Sonia. Sonia was the not the third coach, but she's now the third coach who's on the team now. And it was really vitally important for me to have a trauma addiction recovery coach on our team. So vitally important. Because remember when I was sharing that, and Sonia's going to share more about that next week. She's going to tell you about her show a little bit later on. But it's so vitally important to understand that many women, not all, but many women who experience childhood trauma winds up leading to the world of using alcohol and drugs. And we do that because we want to medicate our feelings. We want to medicate the symptoms of anxiety, PTSD, and other symptoms that comes up as a result of trauma. So again, many of us made wrong choice. We can admit that, but at the time, it medicated those feelings. So if you're somebody who understands that, or you're currently in that situation where you're using drugs and alcohol and trying to navigate out of that, Sonia's somebody that's excellent to give you some resources about that. But she's not only here for people who are currently in those situations. Mainly, she's in it, as well as life coach Julia, as well as myself. We are here for the women who say, yes, I'm out. You know what? But now I want to live my life on purpose. Now I want to live my life based on this vision I've been carrying around for years, because I know I wasn't the only one, but I kept struggling with, like, why can't I get to that place I know I should be? What is going on? And a lot of the work I needed to do was heal my trauma mindset. But I do know this, and I really don't want to deter people away from whether you're seeking therapy, whether you're seeking coaching from one of our coaches or any other coach, anybody in the helping field. I want to tell you, it's not easy. That's why a lot of people don't want to go through therapy, who don't want to deal with trauma, who want to think about, it's in the past, it's over, I don't have to deal with it. And I just want to tell you, if you're stuck in any situation, whether it's your career, whether it's your job, whether it's a relationship, if you're stuck, and I'm not talking about if you're going through it, because we're all going to go through it. All relationships go through things. I'm talking about being stuck in a level of unhealthiness and can't seem to get out. It's because of trauma. It's because of unhealed trauma. And I can tell you, I'm real transparent when it comes to my life, is that there are a lot of times in my life, even though I was clean and sober, and even though I was at a good place in my life, my trauma was interfering with me creating my next. And the way it kept interfering with me is through self-sabotage, through procrastination. Come on, if you can identify with that, comment in the chat. Absolutely. It was interfering with me going next. So I had to say, you know what? There's some more healing I needed to do that kind of held me back from my past. And that led me into now and then throughout my life saying to myself, okay, I need to go into therapy. And I'm currently in therapy now, but I also recognize that they're not going to be women who are going to go to therapy. So hopefully we can be a wonderful, viable option for you in helping you coach yourself to the next level of your life. Coaching yourself, particularly, again, I'm going to go back to Sonia, because if you're somebody who is in recovery and you're recovering for substance use, whether you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years in recovery, a lot of times, not a lot, but I want to say a lot in terms of statistics. I don't have the numbers, but definitely can get them, or Sonia can get them. There is a great percentage of women who have a lot of clean time and wind up relapsing. And people stepping back, including them, like, how in the world am I relapsing and having 10 and 15 and 20 years clean? I want to tell you, because there's more work to be done regarding trauma. And that's staying clean and sober wasn't enough.
Natalie,
add to that conversation.
Yes, I don't have the exact statistic right now, but I do know that the higher relapse, it's higher on women than men. When we get cleaned up, the statistic is higher on women to relapse than men to stay to relapse or stay sober. Also, the statistics, like you were speaking earlier, it's 80%. 80%. If y'all make your research, ladies, 80% of the women who have experienced trauma,
Mhm,
sexual abuse, domestic violence,
mhm.
physical, verbally, 80% of the women that have been treated from addiction, 80% of them have experienced trauma. And that's only the 80% that have seek treatment
Yes, yes,
without counting the women that have not. So
absolutely.
that's a very high number. That's why we need to continue healing. We need to continue growing and knowing and getting all these tools that we talk about. This is a women's talk show where we can talk about there might be something that is bothering us and we don't see it at the moment, and that can trigger our flashbacks, trigger our traumas. So we have to be prepared so it don't
Yes,
take us back to that relapsation, either if it's an addiction or going back to an abusive relationship, or to the mindset, like Natalie said, the mindset where we just block ourselves and end up doing sabotaging and doing negative, acting out on negative behavior. So yes, Natalie.
yes. Thank you, Sonia. Say that, Sonia. You see how good
Yes,
my coaches are?
absolutely.
Thank you, Sonia. And that's real.
Appreciate it.
That's
Yes, yes.
real.
It's
Yeah,
sad. It's sad, but it's real. It's
yeah.
hard.
And I want to repeat what she said. She said 80% of women who enter treatment for the substance abuse have trauma. And she also said that's only speaking to the women who seek treatment. And as we
Absolutely.
know, not a lot of people go into treatment for substance
Mhm.
use. There are a lot of people out there, and this may be you, who are saying, "Oh, I can do it by myself. I don't have a problem." We're not counting those people. So can you imagine how high the numbers are really? If we were able to kind of collect the statistic of those who went into treatment along with those who don't, numbers would get real high. Oh, real high. So again, that's why we have Coach Sonia, because Sonia is going to be the one to help coach you as you move into your next. Because even, and I'm not talking about so-called negative situations that cause
Mhm.
people to relapse and cause. I also want to make sure, and it took me years to learn this. Even when you're moving to the next level of your life, it can trigger a trauma response. It
A
can trigger
setback.
because if you do not heal your trauma as you move into a good place, as you move into what's next, it can trigger some thoughts. And you can begin to tell yourself, and I want to make sure I say this, and I will do a video on this. It can trigger you subconsciously without you aware of it. It can cause you to sabotage good opportunities.
Absolutely.
It can cause you to procrastinate. Trust me, I know this firsthand. And this is when you're going to good places. Because that thought process again will pop up like, you know what, you're not good enough. And you're not going to make it. And people on that level are not going to accept you. They're not going to want you. So even though we have the desire to really get out of unhealthy relationships and we want that good man or good woman, whatever your situation is, you know what? When we start thinking about approaching that good man, that good woman, that good relationship, if we don't heal our thought processes, if we don't heal some of our trauma, that thought's gonna tell you that good man you want is not gonna want you. So I just wanted to make sure that we share that. Um, I want to now take the time before we actually go into today's topic. You see how the reason why I wanted to have a
Thank
talk
you.
show, because we have so much to say, and we haven't even started today's topic, which is yesterday's pain,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow's purpose, right? Understanding the connection between your trauma and you trying to get to your next. That's what today's topic is. And I'm so excited to be able to talk about it through my own experience. But I want to stop here before we start the show. And I want Sonia to begin to share how you can participate in our talk show. Because remember, this show is not just ours. We want to create space for you to engage, you to learn, and you connect through your questions, through your answers, through sharing your stories, so you can help us grow this community. So, Sonia, can you share with our audience how they can participate in each talk show?
Of course, Natalie. Well, ladies, welcome to this. This a woman's worth talk show. This is not just a show; it's an interactive experience, and your active participation is at the heart of it. So here's how you can participate. Okay, you can first of all you can join, hit the link, join, and be part of our YouTube live channel, so you can get all our videos and have notifications for our next lives. And I'm going to speak to you about four segments, four ways that you can participate in our lives. So the first one is in the opening and welcoming. You can say hello on the live chat. You can let us know where you're tuning from, and we would love to hear where you from. Also, you can do the question and answer. When Natalie puts on a question, she will put on a question, and you could answer the question that Natalie put on the banner, which is going to be right below on our YouTube live. And you can also ask any questions, share your thoughts to provide insight in our live chat. Our team is here to engage with you, and always you can put your input, and we will be happy to acknowledge it and answer as prompt as we can. Okay. Our third is listen for announcements, lady. Stay tuned for exciting news and updates. We're building a community here where we're building a community here, and you are an integral part of it. So remember, you make this possible when you join, and you help us grow and help us help other women as ourselves to heal. You're part of the community, ladies. So last but not least, we will be providing you with resources and tips. We'll provide a valuable worksheet at the end of the segment. We'll provide you with tips, resources related to our discussion. And if you find this video, remember, you can always comment about our live if you like it, what you think about it, and test your understanding. And it's for your personal growth. If it helped you on your personal growth, if it helped you out through the whole video, let us know how we helped you, and also let us know what type of topics you would like for us to discuss on new sessions and new lives, and we will take your comments and we will discuss them and see what else we can bring up to you all, ladies. So, last but not least, let me mention to you that if you like to join our live show and ask your questions directly, just let us know in the comments, and we'll do our best to bring you on the screen to interact with our experts like Natalie, Julia, and of course me, trauma addiction recovery coach. And so, if you we're here to engage, learn, interact, and let's make this enriching experience together. And we would like to hear from your questions and insights, because your opinion really matters. Thank you.
That's, thank you so much for sharing that. I wanted to make sure that, I'm sorry, Sonia is sharing with you on how you can participate. I want to hear those questions. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your responses about your experience, because you know what? You never know how you can help somebody. If not for
Absolutely.
anything, you can help someone understand that they are not alone. And that's why my team and I are so transparent about our experiences. Not a lot of people want to do that because there's shame attached to it. There's judgment attached to it. We side of, we know, maybe some judgment, but we want to make sure that we help other women. Our desire to help other women subsedes the possibility of anybody will judge us. And honestly, like I'm way past that. It's so important for me to, when I go see my Heavenly Father, that He says, "Well done, my good and faithful daughter. You did what I called you to do." I want to be able to hear that. I'm more focused on that than anything else. So I want to talk about, let's talk about today's topic.
Absolutely.
Today the journey starts. It starts today. Today also marks the beginning of our four-part series that delves deep into the roots of trauma, the negative behaviors that can emerge as a response, and the path to healing. I'm absolutely thrilled to have each and every one of you with me today. So again, today's topic is a woman's work talk shows, yesterday's pain to
So
tomorrow's
tomorrow.
Purpose. So, hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to this groundbreaking episode of our talk show. I want to talk with you about our first part of our four-part series, which is my topic that I want to talk about. And this topic is very near and dear to me. And I also understand that it's very near and dear to other people. But I also want to share a little bit about the next 4 episodes, right? Because next week, Sonia is going to be hosting the show, and she's going to be talking about trauma responses. How our trauma lead us to those negative behaviors, as well as she's going to talk about some coping skills to help you through that process, right? But we're not going to stop there. We're also going to have a special guest at the end of this 4-part series who's going to share with you the path to healing, right? So we're excited. I want to say this. It's so important to acknowledge the root of trauma, and it varies from women to women. We all have not experienced the same trauma. Some of us have experienced all of those traumas that I mentioned, like myself. Some people have experienced domestic violence but didn't abuse substances. Some people experience domestic violence and not sexual assault. I'm a woman that has experienced all of them. I'm a woman in substance use recovery. I am a woman who not only was a victim of domestic violence, but a survivor, then an overcomer, and then an advocate of domestic violence. I am definitely a woman who experienced self-sabotage. I experienced procrastination, even way past all of those issues were behind me, so to speak. I was a woman who still experienced procrastination. I was a woman who decided, you know what, we need to get more help for our trauma mindset. I'm that woman, So today I want to talk to you about the beginning of my trauma, how it all began. And I believe there's a lot of women out there this will resonate with. And I also understand there's a lot of women out there who don't understand the connection between the trauma and them trying to get to the next. And you hear me and my team talk about that a lot because we walk that walk, and because we're moving to places and creating new chapters, we understand firsthand how they can affect you in trying to get to your next, right? So there is hope. There is hope. But again, today I want to talk about my father wound. I want to talk about that. Everybody doesn't have the same issue of a father wound, or we have it. Some of us have that father wound, but in different areas. Let me give you an example. My father wound happened because my father was not consistent in my life. My mother and my father separated when I was about 6 years old. And that was a very traumatic time in my life. It was so traumatic that, like, through my years of healing, I realized that I didn't fully explore that my father left. Not only that he left, how much it impacted my life. Because see, my thought process after a while was like, okay, he gone. My mother is holding it down. He gone. My mother holding it down. She's taking care of her kids. She's going to work full time. Even after a while, I started going to school for years until she became a psychotherapist. And I looked at my mother and said, that's my Shiro. She is my Shiro. My mother held it down, raised all of us without my father. So you know what? He's insignificant. But I'm here to tell you, in spite of that thought process, I want to share how significant my father should have been. I'm pausing because I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that. Although my mother did what she did, she was never able to replace the role of my father. Women cannot replace the role of their father. I mean, I don't know how many times, like on Father's Day, you see on social media about, you know what? I'm a mother. I raised my kids by myself. So this is my day also. No, it's not. No, it's not. You just did a great job in raising your kids as a single parent. And you definitely are owed kudos for that. That is a difficult job to do, to raise your children as a single parent. But Father's Day is not your day. Let's go hard on Mother's Day, okay? That's your day, Father's Day. And the reason why I said that is because fathers hold an important role in the lives of children that mothers can't. Men and women operate differently. Our parents serve a purpose based on their gender. You know, in the role of fathers, and I talk a lot about that in my book, and I just have my book here. I'm going to do a video all about my book, and this is called book, and it's called "What About Me? Healing the Soul of a Daddyless Daughter." This is my first book. My team always tell me I don't talk about this enough. What
Yes.
about your book, right? So this is my book. I wrote the book about, you know, all of my traumas, really detailed, tell all, detail. When I say detail, I'm talking about detail. So get ready, put your seatbelts on. If you buy the book, put your seatbelt on because it's a lot of detail. If you experience trauma, I just want to give you a warning that some of it may trigger your trauma, and use that as a sign that maybe I need to heal my trauma, not to run away from the book, because this book is really helpful. Because not only did I talk about the traumas that I experienced beginning with my fathers and how it affected my life, I also talked about all the relationships that I were in that were negative, including the one relationship where this was a good man that I sabotaged a relationship, right? I sabotaged a good relationship with Mr. Right. Right? And I'm going to help you tie that into my father not being around. I'll tie that into my book. And I'll talk about the journey of healing in this book. I talked about the steps that you can take, including having some worksheets in this book to help you to begin your journey of healing your soul. But I want to talk about the father wound. I want to talk about that. I want you to understand how it does affect your life, no matter how much you say that, you know what? And I'm being real graphic here. Some people say my father was just a sperm donor. He was supposed to be more than that. And he may have been. My father was in my life, but he was inconsistent. Like, he showed up when the wind blew. You know, there were times that, you know, my mom said dad was coming over and we would all get dressed. My sister and brothers, we get ready for my father, and he didn't show up. Didn't call to say he couldn't make it. Just didn't come. That happened many, many times in my life. But when I was about 6 years old, when my father had left, I had this memory in my head because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York City, in a high rise. And on the floors, you can see like out into, you know, in front of the building, you know, you could see all out because they were like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like gratings. I'm using the wrong word, but you can see. And I remember that day. And two things happened to me that day that created the hole in my soul, that created the beginning of my trauma path. How he left, just before he left, I just only remember me being in the back of my bedroom. I could hear my mother saying, you know what, you know, call the police, call the police, call. That's all I remember hearing. And then I went into a room, and all I could see is like, and I'm real transparent. All I could see is my father having her head near the window. And I can remember like blood coming from her lip. I don't know what occurred prior to me coming in that room, but I know when I got there, that's what I saw. And at the same time, my mother telling me to call the police. And I'm picking up the phone, and my 6-year-old hands are like shaking, not able to dial the 3 numbers of 911 because I was traumatized by what I saw. And then I believe when my father turned around and saw me, that's when he stopped and like headed out the door. And then my mother had wound up calling 911. I want to share this moment for you. Like, at that point, my father was my everything. My everything. So I was stuck with a dilemma. Like, okay, I know 911 is supposed to be called because you're hurting my mom. But at the same time, in my 6-year-old mind, I was like, but my daddy's leaving. My father's leaving. So while I was standing on the terrace looking outside into the gate, I don't know how to describe it, the gate that you can see through, I kept looking and waiting for him to come out the building. So as I'm looking, we lived on the 6th floor, I'm looking off the terrace, and then when he finally came out of the building, I just kept watching him walk out of the building, across the street, through the parking lot, until I couldn't see him anymore because he went to the other side of where I lived. And all I kept thinking is like, is my daddy going to come back? Is he coming back? You know, and that terrified me. That situation I held in my head for years. I didn't understand how it impacted my adult life I didn't understand that until I started my own journey of transformation, until I started my own journey of healing. Did I understand the connection between not only that moment, but that was the moment, that was the beginning. I didn't understand the beginning of that moment, along with others, was connected to many of the bad choices that I made in my life. And I'm here to share with you why. Again, that's why I want to talk about yesterday's pain can lead you into tomorrow's purpose, but we got to talk about the pain. And that's the thing that a lot of people avoid, the pain. Um, but after that day that my father left, and me just trying to figure out, like, is he ever going to come back? He came back. He came back. He had the conversation. I still remember my sister and brothers, we sitting on the sofa, and he's coming and telling us that he will come see us, but he won't be living with us anymore because of, him and my mom's situation, right? And that just devastated me. And it devastated me. Although my mother did a darn good job raising somebody like me, she did a great job. And there's some other stuff that she didn't do well, and I openly talk about it, and I will talk about it. But today's topic is about my father, and maybe about your father if you're next situation, and how it connects to keeping us stuck from what's next. So my father telling me, he's coming, gave me some sort of release, because he said, okay, I'm coming back to visit. But after time of him showing up sometimes, and sometimes he's not showing up, it got to a point where I stopped relying on him. It got to a point where even if you started saying I'm coming, I'm like, okay, I hope you come, but history has said you may not come. You may not come. I got to the point where I began to understand you just may not come. But although and then I began to get angry with my father. Like in my mind, how dare you say you coming and don't show up? How dare you? I began to get angry. But I want to tell you about something that we call, and there's a term for it. I'm going to write about it. I think I posted it on Facebook about this term, and it has something to do with you silencing your voice. And although I was angry with my father for not showing up, I didn't say it to him. When he came around, all I could do is, be excited that he was around, but I kept my anger about him not showing up and about him being inconsistent. I kept that silent. And the reason why I did that is because I was afraid as a young girl that if I told my father how angry I was with him, that he wouldn't come back. Now, you got to keep in mind, we're talking about me being 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Even in my early teens, I began to learn to be silent. To be silent. So he won't go away. How that connects to my adult relationships. In the beginning of my relationships, when I began to get in relationships, like as a teenager, my early adult, in those relationships, I learned to do the same in the beginning. Like when there was issues that were going on in a relationship, I learned that I need to keep silent. Because even though what was going on in that relationship wasn't good for me, the other part of me was telling me, if I open my mouth and share with you about what's going on, the man in my relationship was going to leave just like my father. So just as I learned to keep silent with my father, I learned in adult relationships to be silent. To be silent. Right? I'm gonna bring up my dog right now because he's just running around. Give me a second. I just want to pick him up for a moment. Here you go. He's just running around. He's just running around.
Can you hear me, Natalie?
Huh?
That was powerful. That was powerful. You got me over here. Ah, just thinking like it's hard. Just listening to your story. Even though we've talked about it before, and we heard me, you, Julia, and we've had other lives, and we've shared a lot. It's just emotional because even though like yours was the daddyless part, mine was the motherless, which I was raised. Me and my four other siblings. We were five. Were raised by my father, which had an alcohol problem, but
Mhm.
still did his best to raise us without a mom. But it was hard growing as a little girl. And then when you become a young lady and you need, your women things, and you got to go tell your dad, which is drinking all the time, it was just hearing you just took me back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And I am glad for all this coping skills we got, because
Yeah.
I would have been right now in a whole different emotional area. But yeah, I'm glad that you share your story. It's very, it shows how the traumas can actually, like you said, to purpose. Because look at you now, you're not in
Yes.
the streets, you're not still on your addiction. You turn it into something beautiful that is helping other women.
Hmm.
So
Yes. Yes.
great job, Coach Natalie.
Thank you. And yeah, and this is definitely Sonia, a platform, and you know this, where we really talk about real issues, that we talk about the difficult stuff,
Mhm.
that we talk about the experiences that we had, because like I said, as a trauma mindset coach and a professional counselor, I know how it impacts our adult lives. I know
Absolutely.
clearly. So, and then I'm not finished yet. There's more
I
to come.
know.
Honestly, I wanted to pause, honestly, because my grandson's in the back messing with my dog. So my dog
Mhm.
me. But he's 4 years old, and he thinks when adults get on phones or they're distracted, he can run around and do what he wants to. Right? So that's why I had to pick up my dog.
That's our kids. All
Take
kids do
take my
that.
dog life from me. She ran over to me. But but I wanted to continue. This is Brooklyn for those who haven't met her. And I'm gonna, again, I shared before, but I'm gonna do a video about Brooklyn and I, because not only she's my gorgeous pet and I named her Brooklyn after my hometown, but she is a service dog and she helps with my anxiety disorder. But I explained that on the show. There's so many coping skills that you can learn. But going back to my father, yeah, I learned to be silent with him. I learned to keep my mouth closed in relationships. I definitely don't do it anymore. But we're talking about in my earlier years, in my 20s, and even in towards probably my no, up to my early 20s, because right after that is when I landed with Mr. Right. That's a whole nother issue. Um, so I learned to keep silent. Um, I learned years later, Sonia, like you mentioned, my father was an addict and an alcoholic. And a
Mhm.
lot of those inconsistencies was based on him needing to take care of his addiction. And not only that, because I understand the world of trauma and I understand it firsthand, is that he was actually coping with his trauma that he experienced. So when we talk about generational trauma, there's a high chance that the trauma you experienced yourself didn't begin and end, and it's not going to end with you if there's no healing done. So I do this not only in honor of the women who have these experiences and want to get better in their lives. I'm doing that in the honor of our children and our children's children and our children's children. Because, my mother was the first, and my father, who finally got into recovery, they were the first who put up the banner that it's okay to ask for help. I thank God. So there's a good story at the end of my story, but I have to tell the hard stuff. I have to talk about the beginning, how it all happened. So that's why I'm here today. But again, there is hope. That's why we're on this platform. So I want you ladies to know, who's listening, oh, I have a story of hope. I have stories of healing. I have stories of repairing my relationship with my father. I have stories of repairing my relationship with my mother. I have stories of those. But today's not about that. It's about the roots of our trauma and how it disrupts our lives. So that situation I was saying about how I began to learn how to operate with the men in my life came from me learning how to operate with my father. One of the things about fathers and what they're supposed to do for their children is provide a sense of safety. That is the role of a man. Although mothers do that, that's not and this is my take on it. That is not the reason why women were created. Although we do a darn good job of keeping our children safe. Though I do. But ultimately, the whole idea of being in a relationship based on my thoughts about God's perspective is that you have a mother and your father. And your mother provides the nurturing, your mother provides those things and many other, but the father provides the safety for the family. He's the one that's supposed to be the strength of the family that says, I'm going to make a place of safety. I'm going to make sure this family is well taken care of. That's part of the role of a father. But not only that, the role of a father, and I'm talking about women, good, just for today, because absent fathers negatively impact men, but this is about women. The role of a father is to be our first role model. They are the ones to teach us how men are supposed to treat us. They are the first, they are the model. So when you look at your fathers, I implore you, and I talked about this before, is there any connection between your father and your relationship? Review your past relationship. And I'm not talking about every single aspect of your father, that every single aspect that the relationships were in, but I can tell you this, look at your traumas. Look at the trauma that was connected to your father. And there is a high chance, I'm gonna dare to say 100%. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. There's a 100% chance that those relationships that you were in, which was domestic violence, addiction,
Abusive.
toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships, ineffective communication, not being able to trust your man, not because I know when I was in relationships, I felt like, you know what, I love you. And I'm talking about Mr. Right. I'm not talking about the relationships that I was in were with perpetrators of domestic violence. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about Mr. Right now. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Sonia, where was I at before I mentioned that?
You were talking about your Mr. Right and how that affected with your father's relationship.
Oh man, there was something I wanted to say about that, and it will come back to me because it's so important. Um,
I think you want to speak about how you sabotaged the good relationship you had with Mr. Right.
you want to hear? Okay, I'll talk about that and it'll pop up. Yes, ladies, let me share this with you. It is possible for Mr. Right to show up and you mess that up. It is possible, right? So my Mr. Right, he came into my life probably a couple of days after I turned 21, right? This was on the heels of me getting away from a relationship that was riddled with domestic violence. It riddled with a man who, and you really can't see it, but like on the side of my face is a cut that he stopped me and came to my job with a broken glass and tried to cut my face. Thank God it didn't do all of that. It just had a small cut, but I wound up in the hospital with stitches. So after that, I finally said enough. Believe me, that wasn't the only domestic violence experience I had with him, but that day it was enough. I remember it was a snowstorm in New York, and he had bought me a coat, he had bought me a nameplate, gold nameplate. And that day, after that, I was like, that's it, I'm done. And he tried to come into my job again. I said, here, just take it all, keep it all. And that was the last day that I was with him. So I had just turned 21, and that was the reason why he bought me the coat and the gold necklace. A couple of days later, me and my girlfriend, we went to celebrate my birthday. We went to this club, and I walked in, and this man, and he had this energy that I was attracted to. I don't know what it was about, but something about his energy I attracted to. But my girl, she wants, not her, the person that drove us there wanted to leave, and we was riding with them. So I was like, he asked me to dance, and I said, you know what? We gotta leave. So we go outside and we like, why you guys want to leave? I saw I met somebody I want to dance with, and I'm real picky, so I ain't dancing with anybody. So they was like, okay, you guys stay and we'll leave. I went back in, I walked up to him, I said, you know what, I changed my mind because I'm staying. So we started dancing. Long story short, I wound up being with him for probably 12 years we were together. I wound up pregnant with my oldest daughter when I was with him for 2 years. I got pregnant. This man asked me to marry him. This me in my trauma mindset. I don't want us to get married just because I'm pregnant. This man asked me to marry him. That was my response. And this man's like, honey, I love you. And just the fact that you're pregnant, yeah, once makes me want to marry you, but that's not the reason why, because I love you. I didn't believe it. I was like, yeah, right. This ain't going. So wound up having my daughter, almost Kendra. So this is now like how many years later? Kendra was probably excuse me, I'm doing the math here. So 6, 7, 9. Kendra was probably about 9 years old at the time. And moving forward, at that time, her father and I were both in recovery for a couple of years, right? So those of you who understand the 12-step programs know that each year that you get another day clean and sober, you can have a celebration, right? So our clean time was a couple of months. Mine is in December, his is in October. So the first couple of years, we had our celebrations together. So I'm sitting there at the table because you can bring a cake, a balloon, you have speakers, both of us sitting there. All of a sudden, he gets up, goes around the table, gets on his knees to propose to me again. And this wasn't about a pregnancy because I wasn't pregnant. I said yes. I said yes. Right? Gave me his ring. Everybody in the meetings went wild. Those who be on 12-step meetings know that is breaking tradition for
Yes.
real. Yeah. He did not. His mind is like, we live this recovery program. Everything about us is 12-step. I'm asking my baby to marry me. Yes, at our anniversary. Yes. Let somebody say something. That was him. So anyway, everybody in the crowd goes wild, and yeah, I said yes. So this time I said I'm going to marry him. So I go off, Sonia and audience, to plan this beautiful wedding. Anybody knows me know I'm a diva. I do things extra. So I wanted to plan the wedding, and not only that, we were in recovery. He was an excellent speaker, so he was asked to speak a lot of places, from New York to New Jersey. We were living in New Jersey at the time. He was also a community activist. So he would be involved in the community. We would go to City Hall. We would advocate for money for people in recovery programs. We opened up our own recovery program at the time in 1991. I was executive director. He was a program director. We were really involved in grassroots community helping people. So as a result of that, we knew politicians, we knew all the community leaders, all the nonprofit leaders. We were well known because of him and his voice. He was a great speaker, right? I'm trying to speed the story up, right? So, and he was also somebody that, like, if you were in the hospital and he knew you, he's going to come see you to make sure you're okay. He was just this loving man that believed in helping people. Meanwhile, I'm back home with his daughter talking about, you spending too much time out in the streets with people. What about us? That was me, home. But understand, that was the unhealed, broken woman that felt threatened because he was involved in helping other people. But when he did that, that triggered my sense of insecurity. Remember, I had a lot of unhealed trauma. This was early in my recovery, so I'm feeling threatened. So I would talk to my mother, Mom, see, he doing it again, da, 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 da. So meanwhile, I'm planning this wedding, go to New York. I get there. Anybody knows about the parades in New York? We do it the best in New York City. So he was somebody who did the Pride parades, all those fabulous costumes you see in the parades. He was known for designing one of them. So I chose him to design my wedding dress. And I had to design my daughter's dress like mine. Did all of that, had the invitations, went out, all of that, sent it out to the prominent people, the council people that we knew, the mayor that we knew, community leaders, church leaders. It went out to all of them, the invitations, right? So everybody knew about our wedding because we were well known in the community. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called it off. 2 weeks before this wedding. We had everything done. I said, I'm not marrying you. I told him I would marry him because, you know what? You're not making me your daughter first. I didn't understand about, like, healthy relationships. Like, your partner has a life separate from you. You have your own life. Then you have a life together. Prior to being with him, I was with unhealthy men who my idea of a relationship is that we were together all the time. In my mind, that was true love, which is really unhealthy. So I called this wedding off with this man. And of course he was hurt. Not only that, he had to deal with the whole town knowing I called it off, right? So we broke up, and he just told me, he said, if you're going to leave me for somebody that's better and not worse. Unfortunately, I went to worse. And I'm sharing this with you because his name is Frankie, and he's also in my book, Mr. Right. The reason why I sabotaged Mr. Right, because I did not heal my trauma mindset. I did not heal my father wound. Remember when I said the role of a father is to provide a sense of safety. They're supposed to model what a relationship looks like. My father did not do that. He did not do that for me. He was inconsistent. He was a substance user. He didn't communicate effectively. He was a womanizer, all of those. So in my mind, when it came to, and let me add this, and I used to hold the banner of like, I ain't getting no relationship. I'm not getting married. I'm not being tied down, because when it's time to leave, I want to leave. I don't have to worry about, all these attachments that I had to me. I could just be out. Meanwhile, I've always been in long-term relationships, but my mind needed that, I could just leave at any time, which was a twisted way of thinking. So when it came to Frankie, and his name is Frankie, who was Mr. Right, in my mind, I still held the belief that we were not going to be together forever. So what's the point? And when I started saying like, oh, you spend all those times with other people helping them, that was me finding a hole so I could say, see, that's why you're not a good man. I was nitpicking and trying to find everything that was wrong. And I didn't know I was doing it. It was subconscious. I didn't understand the connection, but I was so afraid of experiencing what I experienced with my father. I kept myself out of, I can't say out of relationship because I was in them. I prevented myself being in a committed married relationship because that was too close for me. That made me feel tied down. And in my mind, it's like, this is not going to work out. Marriages are not going to work out, because not only did I see my household that had only one parent after 6 years old, in my neighborhood, the majority of families also had single parent households. The majority of families only had their mother and not their father in the household. So now we got my household, and the families in my neighborhood really fortified my belief that marriages don't work out. And I held on to that belief unknowingly, and that belief caused me to sabotage Mr. Right. To this day, and he has passed away since, to this day, I regret that. I regret that to this day. After leaving him, and in my mind, I would have measured him up to every relationship that I was in. Nobody matched because they were all unhealthy. And I sabotaged that relationship because I didn't heal the trauma that was left by my father's absence, my father's inconsistency. My father did not provide a message that if you're with a man, his role is to keep you safe, and he'll do that for me. My father gave me the message that men were inconsistent. Men were unreliable. Men will not be there for you. Men will not make you important. I held that in my head. And I'm saying that because that's what happens when you don't heal your trauma mindset. Keep in mind, I said when he asked me to marry him the second time, I was in recovery for years. Not only was I in recovery for years, I was executive director of a treatment program. I was involved in 12-step heavily. We owned a 12-step bookstore on top of that. So I was out of those situations. He wasn't a perpetrator of domestic violence. I was out of those situations physically, but my mind was still operating as if I was still in an abusive relationship, in a toxic relationship, that I was in a relationship with a man that I couldn't trust. My mind had me believing that. To this day, I can tell you that is the only man in my life that I truly trusted. From a healthy perspective, now that I can think with a healthy mind, I can tell you that's the best man I ever had. That is the only man that I trusted 100% in my life. And I sabotaged that because of my father wound, because of how he set that up for me to believe that men were just like that. Because before Frankie and after my father led me to a cycle of domestic violence relationship. One after another. Then it went to Mr. Right, which was not only the relationship that wasn't filled with domestic violence, which was all about recovery and healing. After I left him, I went right into another domestic violence relationship. After him, another domestic violence relationship. After him, another domestic violence relationship. One after another. And then when I got into recovery and I started going to some therapies, that I began to understand the connection between me trying to find a Mr. Right. Because ladies, we say that. I want a good man. Well, all the good men, they're out there. It's just that our men picker is broken. Because we choose people, well, I'm talking about men now, but we choose men, we choose even friendships with women, we choose careers, we choose how high we're going to soar based on our belief system. And our belief system is based on our past experiences. Does that make sense, ladies? So if you have not healed that, you're walking around trying to choose all these good things. And let me add this, we don't make decisions consciously. We say we want a good man, but it's our subconscious mind is the one that does the choosing. Have you ever said, like, I know I want this man, but I keep winding up with this man. I know I want this career, but I keep winding up with this career. And that's because verbally, consciously, you're saying what you want, which are great things, but when it comes down to the action, your subconscious mind, your belief system takes over, and that does the choosing. Even when good things show up, it's your subconscious mind to tell you, yeah, that's good, but it's not going to work out. When it can work out, when it actually can. It'll tell you, like, that job you're going for, you're not going to get it. When the reality is, if you try, you'll get it. But your mind, your trauma mindset that you have not healed, will have you believing that you're not going to get it. And we have stories, and even Sonia's shaking her head because Sonia is a manager, assistant manager, her job.
Assistant manager.
Assistant manager. And I can remember, I still remember her during that. I still remember Sonia when you didn't believe that you were going to get that position.
No, I saw myself like I didn't graduate. Yeah, I have a GED, but I didn't graduate. I don't have all this certification other people have. This women over here trying to apply is more qualified. Every time I ask the other female managers, they tell me no, no, you're not gonna. And I have my husband telling me, "You got this, baby. You got this." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna ask my boss." And then I would go to work, and he'd be like, "Well, what did he say?" Oh, I didn't get to talk to him. And the last was just like he opened the laptop and said, "Baby, just apply."
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you this
And
before you go on? Can I ask you this?
yes,
Those days you were saying, "I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna talk to them." Did you give yourself a reason to your husband and a reason to yourself as the reason why you didn't talk to him that day?
yes, we were so busy, Natalie. It
There you
was
go.
like
What
we
else?
had so much work
So,
that I
yes, but
it's
come on.
always
What else?
something. It was always something. But you see, even when he tried to have me do the application online, it didn't work out like that. It's just I went to sleep and I remember I prayed on it. I said, God, if it's for me, it's for me. If it's not, because I told him I'll do the application on my day off. So I still was sabotaging. I still was procrastinated. What happened is I prayed over it, went to sleep. The next day I went to work. Senior director came straight to me and asked me, Gigi, do you want to be a shift supervisor? You know, because he went first to shift supervisor before. And I said, oh no, I was already a shift supervisor. He said, do you want to be a assistant manager? I said, yes. He told me, I have an opening position. I want you to have it, but it's in another location. Would you be willing? And
Mm-hmm.
I said, yes. So he just said, I need you to fill the application for Stone Mountain and let me know when you put in the. I came home and told my husband, and it was like God just opened another door. I just had to trust the process,
Mm-hmm.
trust the process because I was procrastinated. I didn't see myself good enough. And it's, you know what? That's one thing I learned, Natalie. It's not good. I don't know why we women, and we do this a lot, we compare ourselves to other.
Oh,
And
yes.
we shouldn't. And we shouldn't because even when I started and she's taking her life back,
Mm-hmm.
yes, ladies, when I started and Natalie brought me in and she offered me to be part of she's taking her life back, I felt like the other team members, I wasn't as good as them. I really had no idea what I was doing, but I wanted to be part of this amazing
Mhm.
organization that helped other women like me and like many other women that I've met while in prison, that I know that
Mhm.
all of them had a background about trauma, child molestation,
Mhm.
domestic violence. Most of them were there because of their boyfriends telling them to take the blame, with drugs and everything, tell them I'll be here. They're not gonna give you no time, and they would do it, and they just left them there. And it was so many cases, and I said I wanted to make a difference, but I still felt like I'm not as good, and I stopped comparing myself. I said I'm gonna do what I can, and I'm gonna give it 110%, and we're
Mhm.
gonna go from there. But I stopped comparing myself to other people.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I have a question for you about that. Thank you for sharing that, Sonia, because I want the audience to see or hear a real life example of how we can sabotage good things because of the wrong messages that we're still carrying for our childhood. So, two things I want to ask you, Sonia. And ladies, this is just segment one. There's two other things I want to talk about, but this is segment one of our show, the hole that's left in your soul. Sonia, the two things I want to ask you is one, where did that come from that you told yourself you're not going to get that job as assistant manager? What was the thought and where did it come from?
I'm gonna be honest with you. After I'm healing from my traumas, I had this trauma that I still struggle with
Mhm.
back when I started with you, and that's when I actually did most of my healing. What was 2 years and a half ago when I was part of your learning lounge. It started as a child. As a child, we didn't have much. We didn't have much. My dad worked really hard to support us. We bounced a lot from family members while my dad was at work. While we were in school, we bounced back. Every time I asked for something, the answer was no.
Mhm.
It didn't matter what it was, even if it was a field trip for school. No, because we don't have no money. If
Mhm.
I needed shoes, the answer was no. You have to wear them till next year. If
Mhm.
it was an outfit for school because they were doing some, it was no.
Mhm. Mhm.
Questions about my mom, it was no. Even when was she coming back? It was always a no. It don't matter if it was the smallest candy that was 5 cents in the store.
Mhm.
I was said no, that I learned not to ask. I've learned not to ask because I didn't want to hear. I already knew the answer was no. So I stopped asking. So if I wanted something, that's why I know that you always tell me when you tell me to do, give me an assignment, I work an hour and you tell me, Sonia, you need to slow down. You're overdoing it until you get it right. Because I learned if I wanted something, I had to work 2 or 3 times harder than the average person so I
Mhm.
can get what
Mhm.
I wanted or where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And when it came to my job this time, I felt like I didn't want to hear that no. I wanted to be that I was ready, that when I asked, I was going to get it. But I
Mhm.
still felt like if I hear that no, it's going to crumble me down. And I didn't want to go back through that. But it was that no as a child. It was always a no.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that,
You're
Sonia.
welcome.
And I asked you that because I knew you were going to share it clearly. That is, which Sonia just shared, ladies, is a clear reason why it is so important to begin to heal your trauma mindset. Because the Sonia example Sonia gave us is that because of her childhood and hearing no all the time, set up a certain belief in her head. And I can tell you this, it happened to me, it happened to a lot of other women also that experienced trauma. After being told or shown so many years of you being not valuable by whether you're hearing no's or someone just not being there, after a while, we begin to turn on ourselves and do to ourselves the very thing that was done to us. And I'm saying that because Sonia said she heard a lot of no's from her childhood, she started telling herself no. When it's time to get the job, no, I'm not gonna get it.
Mhm.
When I get it, no, no, I'm too busy. No, she started telling
Mhm.
herself no's. So we start picking up where the trauma left off. What was done to us by other people, we begin to do it to ourselves in the form of
Absolutely.
sabotage, right? I also want to ask Sonia this question. But again, I want to, before I answer the question, ladies, can you see how the connection from our past traumas, particularly from childhood, is the connection to what you're not able to achieve now. Can you see the connection from childhood trauma and how it sabotages good opportunity, how it can sabotage good opportunities if you don't heal your trauma mindset? So I'm going to ask Sonia another question about that same situation, because even though, like me, I truly believe in God. I truly believe God will have people show up. God will have people do things that you can't do for yourself. I wholeheartedly believe that and have many experiences that there is so. However, I also know this, Sonia. I know that God would send somebody like that. Your manager came to you without you having to go to the manager. I know instances that women will still say no. God will set it up for you and you still, but you didn't say no. Why did you say yes? Why did you say, even though he came to me or she, I'm still not going to make it. I'm still not going to be good at it. So I'm going to tell them no. Why did you say yes?
Well, Natalie, let me answer that question. The reason why I said yes, because at that exact moment, I felt that my hard work was being appreciated. It was being shown that he had acknowledged that what I thought that nobody seen and nobody knew, that wasn't my co-workers, that wasn't my boss, that was a senior director that comes once a week and just looks around, watches without saying nothing, watches everybody work, reviews everything that's going on in the month on the company, the money. And I didn't expect the senior director of our district to be the one to come up to me. So if he saw that in me, I knew I should believe in myself as well. So
Mm-hmm.
he saw what I wasn't seeing, like, or what I saw and I knew, but I felt like to the people I kept asking, they kept, even my own coworker managers, they would tell me like, no, there's no openings there, and that was true. It was no opening in that same location, but he offered me an opening at another location that he
Mm-hmm.
really wanted me. He didn't ask them. He came to me. So I felt he saw my work. He saw my hard work. And if I would go work for him over here, he would appreciate it and he would recognize and I would give it my all.
Wow. You said something so powerful, Sonia, but I'm going to take it deeper because I want the women to see how coaching works and
Mhm.
to see how when you dare to face past traumas for a little while, you can visit it. You don't have to stay stuck in past trauma, but if you dare to gain the courage to look at your past traumas, you can begin to do some healing and allow you to make better choices. So to take a little bit deeper, Sonia, because this is what I believe. Well, I don't want to put it in your mouth because I want women to see that you're saying it and I'm not saying it for you. Even in that situation you mentioned about, okay, I knew if the senior manager or director, whatever position they had, who's normally not there, heard about me, it must be so. But that thinking, that way of thinking, has to be set up for you even to look at the possibility of that. Because I can tell you that situation can also happen, and then someone says no. They can't even focus on, well, if the senior manager came down, they would still not be focused on that. They would be focused on, I'm not, they couldn't even see that the fact that what made you begin to be able to think differently, to look at this from a different perspective. What did you do in your life that made you have that kind of mindset?
Natalie, honestly, like I said, you are my mindset coach, and I came and I told you all about the news, and you would push me when I said I didn't think I was, and you would ask me. I don't know if you remember this conversation because I was getting heated up. Why would you think they wouldn't choose you? Why? And I was like, why does she keep asking me this question? And I felt so frustrated and flushed at that moment. And then after that, I realized not only him, but you, my husband, and my family, they see the good in me and they see the hard work. And why was I stopping myself? So I started going back to our papers and I started educating myself about self-sabotage because you told me,
Going back to what papers?
uh, you know, um, I Googled the information and I went back to our lives. We used to have lives on Facebook. I always go back and review them, even to your post. And I would reread your post about self-sabotage, even though mine wasn't about a relationship, because I also try to sabotage. I just got married, ladies. I've been married for a few months. I
Congratulations.
was also trying to postpone that next year, maybe in a few more
I love
months.
that.
Maybe we can do it. And my husband said, no, either it's yes or no. Just think about it. And I said, it's because if we get married, and when if we get married, then the problems are gonna start. We're happy right now. So that was my mindset, Natalie, too, that I had to work myself and heal myself and
That's
say and look at the differences of the behavior, the treatment that I was being given, if it
mhm,
was the right way he spoke to me, if it was, and same with my job, like you say, what made me, I started thinking about why I was limiting myself, why I
yeah.
was limiting myself. So I started educating myself a little bit more, and I started going to the learning lounge. And you used to post every week. You used to post
Mhm,
Women's Worth Wednesday,
mhm.
um, self
Yeah. All those,
sabotage,
yeah.
on
Mhm,
Mondays, soul food on Sundays, I believe. And I used to go back and read, and it really helped me heal my soul. And I also educated myself. Um, I do a lot of research and I follow a lot of groups as well because it's good to educate yourself. But she's taking her life back as being like the backbone to me because even though when I have something that might be bothering me or I be planning on sabotaging before I act on it,
mhm,
I do what you taught me to do. Think about what's bothering you. Where is that thought coming from? What are my choices? What I can do different?
mhm,
And I do that. And I sit down and I do that. And I say I use my journal a lot, which in the future I want to speak to the ladies about that.
mhm,
Journaling is being like my lifesaver. I
mhm,
write when I'm angry. I write when I'm sad. I write just when I have feelings and emotions. And you don't know how much comes out of the journals. When you go back and read it, you'll be
mhm.
like, oh my God, I was holding all this back. But it helps me. It helped me heal and it helped me grow. And now I see myself differently. They were a position right now that they would say, I'm looking for a manager for a whole store, I would throw myself in there right now. I would be like, hey, I'm right here.
Mhm,
And yes, Natalie, the reason why I did when I started doing my 2 week training, because I had to go to the business college before I became an assistant manager. During those 2 weeks that I was doing business college, I was also um, healing my soul and I was making my mindset stronger by learning and breaking free from the self-limited beliefs that I had about myself
yeah.
and stop procrastinating as well
Mhm,
because that procrastination really won't take you nowhere. When you leave something, I'll do it tomorrow, it
mhm.
might be that tomorrow might be too late. So I
Absolutely.
really think that that's one thing that we women should work on. Stop procrastinating. If
Yes.
there's something you should do and you want to do, go ahead and do it. Don't wait because tomorrow might not come. So
Yeah.
just work on
Wow.
it, ladies.
Wow. You shared a lot. You shared a whole lot. Ladies, I hope if you're not on this live, you continue to watch the replay and forward it to the responses that Sonia just gave us. That is an example of how you change your life. What I wanted Sonia to say, and she said it so clearly, she didn't just pop them to say, okay, yes, Sonia did work before they asked about the position in her life,
Hmm.
during and after. She told you I had support systems, I did some research, I did all those things that help create my new mindset that just maybe I can.
Absolutely.
There's steps that you can take. It doesn't matter where you're at in your life. You can change your life if you change the way you think. For women like us who experience trauma, we need to first understand there's a connection to your trauma. A lot of us can't even get there. We want to deny that the trauma is still affecting our lives because it happened so long ago. I beg or differ. I want you to see how it can still. How my trauma made a decision of bad relationships. My trauma sabotaged Mr. Right, and other
Absolutely.
areas. But what I want you to understand that, and as coaches, we help provide the steps on how to change. I always share in my counseling experience, as a coach in my own journey of recovery, I understood after 34 years that if you change the way you think, if you change what you say, and importantly, if you change who you hang around, you will change your life.
Absolutely.
You will change your life. I don't even have to ask Sonya this, I already know. I'm definitely on my life and Julia's life. We don't hang around the same people that we used to hang
No,
around.
no,
No way. I don't even go deeper. I don't even hang around family members who are not on the same page. I'm not one of those women who say, well, that's my blood, so I have to be with them. Oh, no, I don't.
no,
If we are not on the same page, family or not, no, I don't. I don't want to put myself in the midst of people who think differently. I want to put myself in the midst of people who are going to help me get to what's next in my life. And that's what
absolutely.
taking a life back is all about. We can provide the steps on how you change the way you think, how you change what you say about yourself, and come help you develop a whole new group of people to hang around with. I can say this, I can truly say this. There are women who actually think like us, but where they go wrong when they don't get to the next, because they're hanging around people who don't think like them. They're still hanging around people who say, oh, that's not possible. Oh, that's a scam. Oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not going to happen. People are still around people who say and think that way, and it causes them to say, maybe they're right.
Absolutely.
But if you start switching who you hang around, family included, if you start being around people who think differently, who think the way that you want to think because you see where they're going, I dare you to hang around them. I promise you, you will change the way you think and you will change your life. She's Taking a Life Back is that platform. You know, we're not the only ones, but I can tell you we're a dog good platform who have coaches like Sonya shared with you in my life with real true life stories of trauma and true life stories of even after we left those traumatic situations, that how we still had the same way of thinking and how we go about every day changing the way we think, because it's an ongoing battle. You know, I told my team, I said, I want us to be real transparent. We may not tell you every single thing. I probably tell more than anybody else on my team, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
We will share real stories because I don't ever want She's Taking a Life Back to portray like we have it all together. Whatever coach, whatever therapist, or anybody else made you think they have it all together,
No.
that's a trauma response. Because
Mm-hmm.
they're covering up. And not to say this, because therapists and counselors, when you go see them, their role isn't to like disclose everything that they're going through. But that's one of the things I like about coaching, that we can do that. We can do that here. And I want our team to be truthful with you women so you understand that, yes, we went through stuff, we overcame stuff, we still face some challenges, but our challenges today don't keep us stuck. Like for me, it may cause me to like, and I hate to use the word stuck. It may cause me to fall back a little bit, but I'm going forward. I'll say, you know what? I got to use that tool. Like Sonya mentioned, I got to journal. I got to see my therapist. I got to see my coach. I got to talk to my support. I got to Google this. I got to research this. I got to go back and reread this. I got to go talk to somebody that thinks like me to can help me change my way of thinking. Because at the moment, something got triggered in my head that told me I'm not good enough. So where's my team?
Mm-hmm.
But if you
Absolutely.
don't have that team, who you gonna go to?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we have to, if you really truly want to get to the next chapter in your life, you want to create a whole new life, you may have to change. No, not may, you are going to have to change people in your life. And you're going to have to risk people saying who you think you are. You're different. You used to be just like us. You think you better than. I tell them, people don't say to me directly, but if you're thinking that and you're in my life about me, I'm going to tell you, not that I think I'm better than, is that I'm at a better place. I'm at a better place. I'm at a new place where I think differently than I thought about before. Before I used to say I had to be loyal. I had to be loyal. I had to be with them because I needed to be loyal. That doesn't hold me hostage any longer. So I want to move on. Sonia, you did a wonderful job
Thank you.
sharing about, what we're all about and how you change your thinking in the situations that allow you to open up the door to go higher.
Absolutely.
I can tell you that based on what Sonia be sharing, and that's probably she operates higher than the managers now, because of her belief system and the support and things she has done to change and continues to do. Right. So I want to move on. God, we way past an hour and a half. I'm gonna tell you, this show will be an hour and a half. But future shows may not be this long, but because this is the first show, there's a lot of things that I wanted to say that I think it was important. You know, but I have you know what? I have a question before we move on. I have a question, and I'm gonna post it now.
Natalie, let me tell the ladies about our next week's topic.
Right, go ahead. Go to that. Sure.
Okay. Well, ladies, I just want to let you know that next week topic from the fourth series of A Hole in My Soul, it's going to be trauma responses and the link to addictive behaviors.
Yes.
So get ready, ladies, because it's going to be a ride that you will not forget. It's going to be a lot of talking like we did today. We're going to talk about personal experience. We
Mhm.
also want to hear your personal experience, how trauma responses have linked to your addictive behaviors. It can not only be as a addiction to drug abuse, but there's other type of addictions that we know, like um, if we eat a lot. Sometimes we're people that we have that. I have a daughter that she suffers with eating disorder when she gets real depressed. Um, Promiscuous, because sometimes we get really sexually active, all that. So there's a lot of different addictive behaviors, ladies, that we might pick up. Even being what's this word, Natalie, when you just go out and do reckless things, like
Yeah.
reckless behavior, because there's people that do the reckless behavior. They want to feel that rush or that pain and all that. So we're going to talk about trauma responses linked to addictive behavior, ladies. And remember, before this show is over, remember to like, subscribe,
Yes.
and leave us a comment. Okay, leave us a comment, and don't forget that Natalie would have that the worksheet available for you all in our page.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I want to post a question based on the first segment that I was talking about. The hole that's left by my father's inconsistency. I have a question for your ladies regarding that, and the question is, um, have you experienced? Wait, hold on a second. I'm just going to do something over, ladies. Have you experienced inconsistency from a parent, particularly your father, or any role model that was a father like figure in your life that affected your self worth and beliefs about love and relationships? How did it shape your view of yourself? I would love to hear that in a comment. If you're someone who feels uncomfortable about leaving that in the comment, message one of us, myself, trauma addiction recovery coach Sonia, spiritual life coach Julia. I'll make sure we leave our contact information in the description after we finish this live. But I want to hear from you. Have you experienced inconsistency from your parent, particularly your father? Have you done that? I also want to add one more thing about
Ah,
father. When I talk about father wound, be real careful. When I go into talking about my book more in depthly, I want people to understand when I talk about daddyless daughters, because that's what I am, it does not mean your father was never in your life. It could be because your father was inconsistent, but it also could mean that your father was actually living in your household with you growing up. That caused you to be a daddyless daughter, because you can be a daddyless daughter. Remember, if your father was inconsistent while living at home, like he would come home and he would say, "I did my part. I brought home the paycheck, gave it to your mom. I'm good. Leave me alone. I'm sitting in my chair. Leave me alone." You could be a daddyless daughter because his role is more than just to bring home the bread. His job is to be a role model for you. His job is to communicate with you from a man's perspective. His job is to help you understand how other men operate. If you didn't get that and only you just got the paycheck and the benefits of this paycheck, you still could be a daddy's daughter. Please, I want you to understand that. Because people think, well, I was raised by both of my parents. You still could be a daddy's daughter in that household because your father may not have been emotionally available to you and fulfill his entire role. We bought into the fact that the only role that the man have is to bring home the bacon.
Mm-mm.
He does more than that. All right. So yeah, I'm please answer the question in the chat. I'll be looking at it even after we get off this live. But I wanted to you ladies to answer that question. I want to quickly, because we're like we're past an hour and a half. I don't want to belabor this show. Let's talk about segment 2. Forget it, ladies. How unhealed trauma can influence relationship choices. But I kind of talked about that segment 2 already. But I do want to add this part so you understand. The reason why unhealed trauma can affect your relationship choices is because, again, you're going to subconsciously pick the man that represents your absent father, your emotionally unavailable father. They're going to have a lot of similarities. The men in my life were emotionally unavailable. The men in my life were abusive. I seen my mother and father in one situation, probably wasn't the first. I just was too young to remember it all. So I picked a lot of men that represent my father, and I didn't know I was doing that. It happened subconsciously. That's why you need to heal from that. And as coaches, we can help you heal from the subconscious perspective. But it does impact your choices. Check out your relationships. Check out your past relationship. See if there's connections. I have a worksheet that I'm gonna bring up regarding how to identify those patterns in your relationship and how you can see if they have the connection to your unhealthy father or toxic father or absentee father, however you name that, to see if it's really true for you. All right. So let me see. Do I have a question for that one? Yes, here's the question for that one. Question 2, have you noticed patterns in your own relationships that reflect the traumas you experienced in your upbringing? I just mentioned that.
Absolutely.
Have these patterns affected your well-being and happiness? Right? Because, when we start looking at our relationships, we got to ask ourselves, who is the common denominator in all those relationships? Us. Healing work is about looking in the mirror. It is not about letting the perpetrators of it off the hook. It is not about that. It's about us doing real healing work, and that comes from looking at us, inside of us, and why we keep picking these wrong relationships, why we keep sabotaging great opportunities. That's a looking in the mirror work. And as coaches, that's where we come in to help you do that. All right, let's move into the last question, the last topic. Give me 1 second. Actually, I'm going to stop there. I think those are 2 great questions to settle on. I do want to share this, that I'm just so excited. I'm so excited about this talk show. I'm so excited. We are going to learn more about YouTube Live. This is our first live. We're going to learn more about how it works. I'm not sure if I have this public, private. I don't know. Were you able to see the live? So if you're watching the replay, please put a comment in there and let us know that, yes, I saw it live, or no, I wasn't able to see it live, but I did watch the replay. Please continue to join. We have so much more topics to come. This is just the first of a 4-part series. We're going to have so much. I want to leave you with this. If you are not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. We want to grow our channel. So please subscribe, hit the subscribe page on our YouTube channel. Whether you're viewing this from our StreamYard or YouTube, please subscribe. Please share the video. We want to grow our platform. The more women that we can reach, the more women we can help heal. The more women we can help take their life back. That's where we're about. So yes, we look forward to continue the conversations on this 4-part channel. And as Sonia mentioned, her topic is next Wednesday at 8 o'clock, where she's going to talk about trauma responses and the ways we go about numbing the pain of our past experiences, because they're so difficult to feel and experience and think about that we make those wrong choices. So Sonia's going to be talking about that on a deep level. So make sure you join us next week, and again, subscribe. Subscribe. Matter of fact, if you're watching, subscribe now. Let's not belabor this. We'll give you a minute to subscribe. Hit the button. We're waiting for you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Hit that subscribe button.
Hit the like button.
And the like, thank you. And share the live. And please
Live with somebody that
notification bell, because just subscribing to the channel won't allow you to be notified when we go live again or when we upload videos. So not only subscribe, you got to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. But you come back next week. Sonia is bringing it. Sonia is bringing the lives. So, again, thank you for all you ladies that watched this or will watch it. Thank you, of course, Sonia. I'm so glad that you are on.
Thank you.
You bring a lot to the table. I think we do so well when we have a talk show and we don't have to do anything scripted. We just come from our heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it makes it harder for us to be reading out of a script because our audience want to hear they real people.
Oh. I bumped you out for a minute.
Oh,
they want
no, I said it's the best way, just being real, speaking out of what the knowledge that you have as a mindset coach and the knowledge that I have as a trauma addiction recovery coach. And that's what our audience really want to hear. When I go to a lot of and see other people having lives.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why do I keep doing that? I'm sorry, Sonia. That was me again.
It's harder when I see other people having lives and they're reading out of a script. It doesn't feel real. But when you see somebody talking out of their heart, and I just stay there and I listen and I spend the whole time they're there. I would listen because I know it's real.
Yes.
It's real experiences they're sharing with us, and that's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
How do we heal? How can we help you heal? How can we help you break free from self-limited beliefs? How can we help you stop sabotaging? And that's what we're here for, to help you find that purpose. If you want to be a coach, if you want to help other women, this is the place to be, ladies. Don't limit yourself. Everything is possible. Trust me, I know.
Yes, I'm so excited. So excited for you guys also to be spiritual life coach Julia when she comes on. Because Julia also has a wealth of knowledge. Even I didn't get a chance to ask Sonia this, but I select her to be a coach, right, on my team. And anybody that knows me in real life know that I'm very serious about helping others, and I'm very serious about who's in my circle. And there's certain qualifications that you have to be on my team. So when I asked Sonia, I'm not going to ask her now, but I'm sure in her process was like, Mike, can I be a coach? Why she asked me? She knows me way before she's taken her life back. And there's a reason why I asked Coach Sonia, because our coaches, not to say we don't go through stuff, because we do, but our coaches that are on my team are women who not only have the passion to help other women. You need more than that to be on my team. You have to be a woman who have experienced that, not just experienced that. You have to be a woman that experienced what healing looks like. So I really do not want anybody on my team who just have the passion because they overcame. I need to understand that you did some healing work on your own self. And the coaches on my team have done healing work. I've done healing work. We continue to do healing work. We continue to go through obstacles. So you will get some real life stuff, like Sonia said, on this channel, in this talk show. You're going to get some real life stuff, the real for real, the real. Not that I want to present a certain way to you. You're going to get the real one. You know what I mean? We're going to share what we went through. We may not look like we went through stuff, but we have went through things, and we want to share with you because we know that there are women out there who are going through the same exact thing. We can help you by keeping it real. So thank you again. Look forward to next week, Sonia, for your show.
Yes, it's going to be trauma response and addictive behaviors. And remember, this is She's Taking Her Life Back, a Women's Worth talk show, ladies.
Absolutely.
Every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
That's right, Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be posting that worksheet. Give me some time, because after the live, I kind of want to detox a little bit, drink some more water and all of that. And I will be uploading the worksheet before the night is over to help you identify the patterns in your relationships and how it may be tied to your absent father or your inconsistent father or your emotional ability father. Do the work, because every episode that we have, we're going to be including resources, whether it's a worksheet, a journal prompt, tip, resource. Every week, we're going to be providing that because we want to help you do the work. And we have some other things coming up. So if you're not a part of the She's Taking a Life Back Learning Lounge, when you get on our YouTube channel, under the banner or on the banner, there's a link where you can join our private She's Taking a Life Back Learning Lounge.
Absolutely.
So you can be around other like-minded women who are having the same experience, who want to reach what's next in their life, so join the lounge. All right, you have a good week and see you next Wednesday.
See you next Wednesday.
Take
Bye,
your life
Coach
back.
Natalie.
Yes, good night. Awesome.